This is Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Chapter 4. The installation of the Qianliu prince. Emperor Shao is deposed. A plot against traitor Dong. Cao Cao presents a jeweled knife. Dong Zhuo started for Yuan Shao, but Li Ru checked him. Things are not yet under control. You must not kill rashly. Thus Yuan Shao left, sword still in hand. After bidding the assembled officials farewell, he hung his credentials on the east gate and fled toward the province of Ji. "Your nephew has been most uncivil to us," Zhuo said to Imperial Guardian Yuan Wei. "But in deference to you, I forgive him. Where do you stand on the succession?" "With you, Grand Commandant," was the reply. "Then let martial law deal with those who defy us," Dong Zhuo declared. Shaken and fearful, the assembly responded, "We shall obey." After the banquet, Dong Zhuo asked Privy Councillor Zhuo Bi and Commandant Wu Qiong how to deal with Yuan Shao. "He left in a terrible rage," said Zhuo Bi. "But if you try and arrest him, the situation could turn against you. Don't forget, the Yuan clan has held high office for 4 generations. The empire abounds with their followers and former subordinates. Powerful men would gather their forces at his call. And then, if other gallant heroes rally to his cause, the whole region east of Huashan Mountain will no longer be yours. Pardon Yuan Shao and give him an imperial district. He will be glad and will be exonerated, and you will buy security." "Yuan Shao," added Wu Qiong, "loves to contemplate action, but lacks resolution. He's not a problem. Do give him a governorship, if only to keep the people's confidence." Dong Zhuo agreed, and that same day had Shao appointed governor of Bohai. On the first day of the 9th month, the emperor was invited to ascend the Hall of Praiseworthy Virtue before a grand convocation of civil and military officers. Dong Zhuo drew his sword and addressed them. "The Son of Heaven is too feeble in mind and in body to sustain his reign. I have a statement to make." At Zhuo's order, Li Ru read it. Although the late majestic Emperor Ling the Filial departed all too soon, there were high expectations in the land when the present emperor assumed the throne. But heaven did not endow him with the steady and serious character, the deportment and demeanor to command respect. His inattention and nonchalance during the mourning period exhibit his meager virtue. All this has been detrimental to the throne itself. Queen Mother He has failed to give proper guidance, leaving government administration untended and disordered. The violent death of Queen Mother Dong has confused public opinion. The mainstays of our social order, the very bonds between heaven and earth, have fallen slack. The Prince of Qianliu is rich in sagely virtue and strictly devoted to proper rule. Throughout the morning he was distraught with grief. His words are unfailingly apt, and the world knows his excellent name. It is thus fitting and proper for him to receive the boundless patrimony of the Han as legitimate heir for all time. Thus, the sovereign is hereby deposed and reduced to the Prince of Hongnong. The Queen Mother will be relieved of all administrative duties. We enthrone the Prince of Qianliu in response to heaven, in concurrence with men, and to satisfy the people's expectations." When Li Ru had finished reading, Dong Zhuo sharply ordered the attendants to lead the emperor down the hall and to remove his seal and cord. They told him to face north and, on bended knees, declare his intention to serve and obey. The Queen Mother was ordered to remove her royal costume and await instructions. Mother and son wept bitterly, and the assembly of officials moaned. But from below, one official cried out indignantly, "Traitor Dong Zhuo, dare you abuse heaven itself? Then let my blood bear witness." He shook his pointed ivory tablet and attacked Dong Zhuo, at whose angry command the guards seized the man, Imperial Secretary Ding Guan. Dong Zhuo ordered him removed and beheaded. To the moment of his death his oaths streamed forth. Neither his spirit nor his expectation altered. In later times men still sighed for his sacrifice, as these lines attest. The traitor's plot to change a sovereign would soon consign to dust the shrines of Han. A court full of courtiers helpless in Dong Zhuo's hand, and no one but Ding Guan to take a stand. Dong Zhuo invited the Prince of Qianliu to ascend, and the assembly voiced its congratulations. Dong Zhuo ordered Queen Mother He and the former emperor, now Prince of Hongnong, together with the imperial consort Lady Tang, immured in the Palace of Eternal Peace. No access to them was permitted. Alas for Emperor Shao, enthroned in the 4th month and deposed in the 9th. The new emperor, Prince of Chenliu, Liu Xie, styled Bo He, second son of Emperor Ling, became known to history as Emperor Xian. He was 9 years old, 5 years younger than his deposed brother. A new reign period, beginning peace, was proclaimed. Dong Zhuo became prime minister, but he did not use his own name when saluting the sovereign, nor comport himself reverently by scurrying in his presence. Nor did he remove his boots and sword before the throne as was required. The prestige and wealth he amassed raised him above all. Li Ru urged Dong Zhuo to broaden his support by elevating a few eminent men, Cai Yong in particular. Accordingly, Dong Zhuo summoned Cai Yong, but he refused to appear until threats of death to himself and his clan forced the scholar to present himself. Dong Zhuo was so pleased that he advanced Cai Yong 3 times within the month, finally making him privy councillor. Such was the kindness and generosity Cai Yong enjoyed. Meanwhile, the former Emperor Shao, his mother, and his consort, all imprisoned in the Palace of Eternal Peace, were allotted but meager shares of food and clothing. Emperor Shao's tears were never dry. One day he happened to notice a pair of swallows flying in the courtyard and intoned these lines. Fresh vernal grasses tint the morning haze. Homing swallows lace the sky in pairs. The river Luo, a stretch of darker green, people cry in wonder at the scene. But out beyond the depths of younger clouds stands palaces and courts that once were ours. Who will stand for loyalty, take honor's part, and ease the heavy wrongs upon my heart? A spy who kept the disposed emperor under constant surveillance reported to Dong Zhuo the words he heard sung. "Well, if grievance is his theme, we have our excuse," said Dong Zhuo, and commanded Li Ru to take 10 armed men and murder the emperor. The emperor, Empress He, and consort Tang were in the upper story of a palace when Li Ru was announced. The emperor panicked. Li Ru offered a cup of poisoned wine. The emperor wanted to know the occasion of the toast. "The prime minister drinks to your health to greet the spring season," replied Li Ru. "If it is our health," said the queen mother, "you may drink first." "You won't drink it?" Li Ru said impatiently, and ordered his men to show their knives and silken cords. "If the toast is refused, these will have to do," he added. Consort Tang fell to her knees and said, "Let this humble woman drink instead. Only, my lord, preserve the mother and son." "And who are you to offer yourself in a prince's place?" snarled Li Ru, holding out the wine to the queen mother. "You drink first," he said. She cursed He Jin for having ruined the family by letting traitors into the capital. Li Ru pressed the cup on the emperor. "Allow me to bid my mother good-bye," he said. Then he sang with deep feeling. "Earth tops heaven, sun and moon change place. Once I had a kingdom, now a broken town. Robbed of life, by subjects overthrown, all is lost, tears in vain flow on." In turn his consort also sang, "Majestic heaven falls, Mother Earth sinks down. Given in marriage, I follow where he goes. 2 different paths, life and death, here part. So swift the course, and sorrow filled my heart." After the song the two embraced and wept. "The prime minister awaits our report," said Li Ru cruelly. "You are delaying things. Who do you think is coming to save you?" At that the queen mother cried, "The traitor Dong drives us to our doom, but heaven will not sanction it. Your entire clan will perish for aiding this criminal." Li Ru laid hands on the queen mother and thrust her out of a window. Then he barked the order to strangle the consort and force the wine down Emperor Shao's throat. His work finished, Li Ru reported to Dong Zhuo, who ordered the 3 buried outside the city wall. Dong Zhuo now began to indulge himself freely, debauching the imperial concubines and sleeping on the emperor's bed. One day he took some troops to the city of Yang, a place outside of Luoyang. It was the second month when the villagers, men and women, were celebrating the Spring Thanksgiving Festival in honor for their local god. Dong Zhuo ordered the troops to surround the crowd and behead all the men. He seized the women and the goods that the people had with them and loaded everything into his carts, tying to the sides the severed heads, more than 1,000. As the train re-entered the capital, Dong Zhuo announced that he was returning from a great victory over some bandits. The heads were burned at the city gate. The women and valuables were distributed among the army. The commandant of exemplary cavalry, Wu Fu, styled De Yu, indignant at Dong Zhuo's cruelties, put a vest of armor and a knife under his court dress in order to assassinate him. When Dong Zhuo entered the court, Wu Fu greeted him outside the ministerial chambers and then lunged at him with a knife. Dong Zhuo, a powerful man, caught Wu Fu with both hands, and Lu Bu stepped in at once and forced him to the ground. "Who is behind this treason?" cried Dong Zhuo. Wu Fu stared boldly and shouted, "You are not my sovereign. I am not your subject. What treason are you talking about? Your crimes tower to heaven, and the whole world longs to see you dead. My only regret is that I cannot have pulled you apart by horses, like any traitor, to satisfy the realm." In a fury, Dong Zhuo had Wu Fu dragged out and carved up, the curses streaming from his lips till moment of death. A verse of later times praised him. "If you must tell of loyalty, tell of Wu Fu's to the Han. His courage mounted the skies. When down below was none, he struck at Dong Zhuo in the court. His fame is with us still, forever and ever he's won the name of a man of iron will." Thereafter, armed guards constantly attended Dong Zhuo. At this time, Yuan Shao was governor of Bohai. Informed of Dong Zhuo's abuses, he wrote secretly to Minister of Interior Wang Yun. "This traitor wronged heaven itself when he dethroned the emperor, more than one can bear to say. Yet you have indulged his outrageous conduct as if you have heard nothing. Does this befit a subject who owes the dynasty his utmost loyalty? I am calling up and training soldiers to clear the royal house of villains, but I am not yet ready to act. If you share my views, be alert for any opportunity. I stand at your beck and call, awaiting your command." After reading the letter, Wang Yun raked his brains for a plan. One day he came upon a group of former courtiers awaiting an audience and said to them, "Today is my birthday. I should like to invite you to a little gathering at my humble home this evening." "We will come, of course, to wish you long life," the courtiers replied. That evening the elder lords and ministers arrived at the banquet Wang Yun had prepared in the rear chamber. The wine had gone round several times when Wang Yun covered his face and burst into tears. "Why this show of sorrow on a day of celebration?" asked the startled guests. "Today is not really my birthday," answered Wang Yun. "I said so only because I had something to tell you and I wanted to avoid suspicion. Dong Zhuo has wronged the emperor and abused his power. The dynastic shrines stand in peril. When I think how the founder of Han overthrew the Qin, destroyed Chu, and gathered the empire into his hands, I cannot believe that the royal line is to die out at the hands of Dong Zhuo. That is why I cry." The officials wept with him. One of the guests, however, was rubbing his hands and laughing loudly. "This court full of nobles can weep till morning and round to the next evening too. But can you weep Dong Zhuo to death?" Wang Yun eyed the speaker, Cao Cao, commandant of the valiant cavaliers. In a tone of annoyance, Wang Yun said, "Your ancestors also held office under the Han. Why do you laugh when you should be thinking of how to settle the score for the dynasty?" "What makes me laugh," Cao went on, "is simply that not one of you gentlemen seems to have any idea how to get rid of Dong Zhuo. Despite my lack of ability, I would like nothing better than to cut off his head and hang it at the gates of the capital, to redeem ourselves in the eyes of the empire." Rising from his mat in a gesture of respect, Wang Yun said, "Meng De, what is your worthy plan?" "Recently," Cao replied, "I demeaned myself and entered Dong Zhuo's service for a chance to move against him. Since he has come to trust me, there are times I can get near him. I believe you have a knife with 7 jewels. If you let me borrow it, I will go into his chamber and stab him. for I am well prepared to die without regret. Meng De, if you really mean to do this, the empire will be in your debt. Wang Yun responded. He personally poured out and offered him wine, which Cao Cao drained as his pledge. Then Wang Yun gave him the precious dagger. Cao concealed it on his person. When he had finished drinking, Cao took his leave. The courtiers adjourned soon afterwards. The next day, Cao Cao, the jeweled knife at his side, arrived at the prime minister's chamber and was shown to his private quarters. Dong Zhuo was seated on a platform, Lu Bu beside him. "You're late today," said Zhuo. "My horse was slow," Cao replied. "We have some fine ones from my district," said Dong Zhuo. "Feng Xian will go and bring one in for you." Lu Bu went out, and Cao Cao said to himself, "How much this traitor deserves to die!" But he resisted the impulse to stab him then and there, fearing Dong Zhuo's enormous physical strength. Dong Zhuo, a large, heavy man, could not comfortably sit for long, so he stretched himself out facing the rear wall. Again, Cao Cao thought, "This traitor is done for," and was about to strike when Dong Zhuo suddenly looked into the metal reflector sewn on his clothing and saw the weapon drawn. "What are you up to, Meng De?" he asked, turning quickly round again. At that moment, Lu Bu returned with the horse, and Cao Cao dropped shakily to his knees, offering the knife with both hands. "I wanted to offer this treasure in gratitude to your excellency," he said. Dong Zhuo took the knife. It was about 1 span long and had 7 jewels set in the handle and a finely honed point. Truly a priceless gift. Dong Zhuo passed it to Lu Bu, as Cao Cao untied the scabbard and handed it over. Then Dong Zhuo led Cao out to see the horse. "Let me ride," Cao proposed. Dong Zhuo gave him saddle and bridle. Cao guided the horse out of Dong Zhuo's quarters, laid on the whip, and headed southeast. "If you ask me," Lu Bu said to Dong Zhuo, "Cao meant to murder you, but got scared and made a show of presenting the knife." "I had the same thought," said Dong Zhuo. As they were speaking, Li Ru came in, and Dong Zhuo described what had happened. "Cao has no family in the capital and lives alone. Call him back," Li Ru suggested. "If he comes promptly, it was a gift. If not, your suspicions will be confirmed, and you can have him arrested and questioned." On this advice, Dong Zhuo sent out 4 bailiffs. They reported back. "Cao never went home, but raced out the eastern gate, claiming to be on urgent business for your excellency when the watchman tried to question him." "So you see," Li Ru concluded, "this hypocritical traitor has slipped away. It was treachery." "And to think I placed such faith in a man who meant to murder me," said Dong Zhuo bitterly. "There have to be others in on it," said Li Ru. "We'll know more when we catch him." Dong Zhuo circulated warrants with a sketch of Cao Cao's face, offering 1,000 pieces of gold and a fief of 10,000 households for his arrest. He appended a warning that anyone caught sheltering the fugitive would be punished as severely as Cao Cao himself. Cao Cao fled the capital and headed for Xian, his home district. Passing Zhongmo County, he was apprehended by guards at the barrier and taken for questioning by the county magistrate. "I am a traveling merchant," said Cao. "My surname is Huang Fu." The magistrate, however, recognized the prisoner, and, after musing a long while, said, "I knew you, Cao Cao, when I was in Luoyang seeking office. Why are you concealing your identity? You are under arrest. Tomorrow I will deliver you to the capital for the reward." The official then gave the guards wine and food and sent them away. That night the magistrate had Cao secretly brought into his rear court and inquired further. "I have heard that the prime minister was more than generous to you. Why do you bring this on yourself?" "Does the sparrow know of the swan's ambition?" Cao responded. "You have me. Turn me in from the reward. Why bother with questions?" The magistrate sent his attendants away and went on, "Don't despise me. I am no ordinary office holder. I simply haven't met a worthy master." "My forefathers," Cao said, "enjoyed the bounty of the Han for generations. If I fail to honor the debt, I am no better than a bird or beast. I demeaned myself to serve Dong Zhuo only for the chance of ridding the dynasty of the scourge, but fate has thwarted me." "Meng De," the magistrate said, Where are you headed?" "Back to my village," answered Cao. "I mean to rally the lords of the realm in the name of the emperor for unified military action against Dong Zhuo." After hearing Cao's plan, the magistrate personally removed Cao's bonds and helped him to a seat for honored guests. "You are truly the loyal and honorable man of the day," he said, saluting Cao. Cao returned the salute and asked the magistrate's name. "My name is Chen Gong, styled Gong Tai. My mother and family are in Dongjun. Your devotion to the Han moves me to abandon my office and follow you." Cao Cao was immensely pleased. Chen Gong put together some money for traveling and gave Cao a change of clothes. Each carrying a sword, they set out for Cao's village. After 3 days' riding, they came to a place called Chengao. The hour was late. Cao pointed with a whip to a deep grove and said, "Somewhere around here lives a man, Lu Boshi, who once swore an oath of brotherhood with my father. Let's go there and get news of my family and a night's rest." Chen Gong gladly agreed, and the two men rode to the farmhouse, where they found Lu Boshi. "They say the court circulated a warrant for your arrest," Lu Boshi said. "They applied so much pressure that your father left the Chenliu area. How did you get here?" Cao Cao related the events and continued, "If not for the magistrate, I would have been reduced to mincemeat." Boshi saluted Chen Gong and said, "Your Honor, the Caos would have been exterminated but for you. Here you may relax and sleep in the back cottage." Lu Boshi rose and went inside. Eventually he returned and said he was out of wine and had to go to the next village to buy some. Then he hopped on his donkey and was off. Cao Cao and Chen Gong sat a good while. Suddenly, behind the farmhouse, they heard the sound of knives being whetted. "You know, Lu Boshi is not a close relative," Cao said. "There's something suspicious about his leaving. Let's look into this." The two men stole behind the cottage and overheard someone mumble, "Let's tie him up and kill him." "I thought so," whispered Cao. "If we don't strike first, we'll be caught." Cao Cao and Chen Gong entered at once and killed everyone, women and men, 8 in all. Only then did they see a trussed pig waiting to be slaughtered. "You were too suspicious," Chen Gong said. "We've killed good folk." The two men hurried from the farm, but before they had ridden half a mile, they met their host on his donkey with 2 jars of wine suspended from the pommel and fruit and vegetables hanging from one hand. "Dear nephew and honorable sir," he cried, "why are you leaving so suddenly?" "Marked men can't remain anywhere for long," answered Cao Cao. "But I told my family to slaughter a pig for your dinner." Lu Boshi said earnestly, "Don't begrudge us the night, nephew, nor you, good sir. Turn back, I pray." But Cao spurred his horse on. Then he turned and dashed back, his sword drawn, calling to Lu Boshi, "Who's coming there?" As Boshi looked away, Cao Cao cut him down, and he fell from his donkey. Chen Gong was astounded. "What happened at the farm was a mistake, but why this?" Had he gotten home and seen them, he would never have let it lay. He'd have brought a mob after us, and we would have been done for. "But you murdered him knowing he was innocent. A great wrong," Chen Gong asserted. "Better to wrong the world than have it wrong me," Cao Cao retorted. But Chen Gong said nothing. That night, after riding several li under a bright moon, they knocked at the door of an inn and found a night's shelter. Cao Cao fed the horse and went to sleep, but Chen Gong lay awake. "Now, I took Cao Cao for a good man," he mused, "and left office to join him. Now I see he is a savage beast at heart. If I let him live, only trouble will come of it." Chen Gong drew his sword. Indeed, a good man cannot have a bane-filled mind. Dong Zhuo and Cao Cao proved 2 of a kind. Was this the end of Cao Cao? Read on.